Is go around and introduce folks. I'm Barry Barker. I'm with TARC.
Larry Cheney with TPC.
Jim Goody with INDOT.
Ida Kopitar.
Brian Dixon, Clark County.
Bill Dare, Mayor of City of Jeffersontown.
Matt Lanier, City of Jeffersontown.
Orange Chapman, Mayor, City of Middletown.
Bernie Bowling, St. Matthews.
Beth Jones, KYTC Central Office.
Jack Katz with Kipton. Let me say to all of our board members, please stay after this. You can see this quorum is a little bit thin, and we're going to be close on our quorum for board today. So we appreciate it if you all hang around for our 2 o'clock meeting. Thank you.
Is it Derby time?
Next week.
Ashley Davidson, Kipta.
David Burton with KIPTA.
Meredith Hopper with Kipta.
Sarah Bear with Kipta.
Nick Bale, Kipta.
Amanda Dethridge with Kipta.
Bobby Campbell, Jacoby Jones, and Lance Engineer.
Jeff Schaefer with HDR.
Brian Mead, AECOM. Jamie Castran, Associates.
Bob Stein, United Consulting Engineers.
Welcome, everyone. Public comment period. Want to jump to that? Any public comment? Any private comments? Okay. So you want to jump to? Oh, the public meeting report, Ashley?
I was not here in February, so it's a little lengthy. On February 19th, there was the Louisville Sustainability Council's Transportation Action Team meeting. On February 24th and 25th, I went to the International Association for Public Participation Skills Symposium. On March 8th through the 10th, all the staff participated in the U.S. Department of Transportation's Civil Rights Symposium. It was an online webinar. March 10th, the Bullitt County Chamber of Commerce. March 17th, One Southern Indiana. March 18th, the Louisville Sustainability Council Transportation Action Team meeting. On March 23rd, Nick Vail and I presented to the Regional Mobility Council. On March 24th, we were at the J-Town Business Expo. On April 5th, we were holding an open house for the TIP and the MTP, and we'll talk about that in a little while. On April 14th, the staff attended the Regional Mobility Summit, Overcoming Our Obstacles. And April 15th, we were at the Louisville Sustainability Transportation Action Team meeting. And this morning, I was at Maryville Elementary in Bullitt County for a career fair.
Questions?
The theme of the summit was overcoming our obstacles. We didn't overcome our obstacles to be there.
Okay. Project management process. David, do you want to jump in the deep end of the pool?
Yeah. Give me a second. Several reasons KIPTA staff has been approaching the idea of developing a project management process. Basically, as it states, it's a process that we want to employ on how we manage the projects that flow from the transportation plan to our transportation improvement program and finally onto open for the public use. So what we're going to do is give a little bit of a background on this. Staff has been looking at a couple of things relative to the projects that we manage here at KIPTA, and basically there are a couple of ongoing issues that we believe need to be addressed. Advancing projects in a reasonable time frame. Projects don't always advance as quickly as they should. We have a balance of unobligated funds that are available in the SLO program, which are the STP urban funds that are made available to this MPO. And some of the projects that are going forward do not necessarily reflect the intent of the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. So what we want to do is kind of present some ideas that we have relative to coming up with a project management process as we go forward. So which funds are we talking about? As you know, we deal with all kinds of transportation funds that come to the area. There are federal funds that are dedicated to the NPO, then there are federal and state funds that are available statewide. The focus of the project management process will be on the federal funds that are dedicated to the NPO. For presentation purposes, we're going to talk about the SLO funding category, which are those dedicated funds that are available to the Kentucky side of the river, Oldham, Bullitt, and Jefferson counties, and are at the control of this policy committee. And we also want to talk about how projects transition from the Metropolitan Transportation Plan to the Transportation Improvement Program. A little background. Staff has conducted a review of the dedicated funds that are available for our area. We sought approval from this committee back in October to put a freeze or a hold on cost increases and new projects being added to the SLO program until we had a chance to get a better handle on things. We presented to the TTCC earlier this month, and we asked the TTCC to form a working group to help us figure out what are some policies and guidelines that we need to put in place for the SLO and other funds that are dedicated to the MPO. We also want to try to get this working group together, try to work out these issues in June and July, or June or July, and then come back to the TTCC and the policy committee for the purpose of approving these guidelines and lifting the freeze. Basically, there are a couple of issues that we deal with when we talk about the Transportation Improvement Program and projects advancing. This is just an illustration of current TIP program. As you know, the TIP is broken over 4 years. And basically, there are projects that are seeking design, right-of-way, utility relocation, and project construction. In our illustration, the various colors represent the same project. For instance, in year 1, we have design of the red project, year 2, right-of-way of the red project, and so on. Now, each year the TIP has to be physically constrained, which means that we cannot program more dollars than we have available in a given year. Well, part of what's going on is, in this illustration, the red project right-of-way cost is increased, and the blue construction cost is increased. But because we have to have our TIP physically constrained by year, when that happens, we are no longer physically constrained, so year 2 is not in budget. So in order to deal with that issue, what we've done in the past is we'll take a phase out of year 2 and move it to year 3. So now year 2 is balanced, but year 3 is out. And then we'll take another phase from year 3 and move to year 4. Now year 3 is balanced, year 4 is out. And what we end up doing is adding funds to the future phase, which is unconstrained at this point. In other words, we can put as much in there as we want at this point in time. Another issue we have going on is project schedule shift. And that creates more problems. And the same type of illustration in this one, the design phase in year 1, our sponsor comes to us and says, I'm not ready for design, I need to move to year 2. So now year 2 is out of balance, so to adjust that, we move right away to year 3. Year 3 is out of balance, so we just keep shifting phases to subsequent years. Eventually what we do is we keep adding things to the future year funding category. But what happens is there was a hole in year 1. There were, let's say, $500,000 available in year 1 because that design phase shifted to year 2. That red design went to year 2. So I said, hey, somebody comes up and says, I want to start a project. I want to start design and put my design phase in year 1. Okay, that seems reasonable. But we are required to show that we can complete a project. And we have to demonstrate that in the TIP. we've already gone through the process of trying to balance year 2, 3, and 4. So if we introduce the design phase, we have to move the subsequent phases that demonstrate the project can be completed, again, to that future funding category, which is unconstrained. Seems pretty easy. Well, let's do the math on this. These are this is the current TIP 2016 funding allocation for that. The carryover funds are funds that come available that are unobligated from the previous year, in this case, 2015. So we're moving nearly $60 million from 2015 funds that have not been obligated and making them available in 2016. And in this case, the carryover funds at the end of 16 will then advance to 17. So this is what it looks like. We have programmed all of these phases, and to the point where we have $93 million of projects that are sitting in the future funding category. So, if you look at this, you say, okay, in 16, 17, and 18, we have projects programmed to the tune of $30, $38, and $40 million. And look, we're balanced. We did our programming, we're good. We had $75.7 million available. At the end of at the end of 18, we have 300,000. So we've done a good job programming every penny that we have available to us. So that's good. But that 300,000 at the end of 2018, that doesn't allow us to do much. We can't really handle cost increases without shifting more phases into the future. We can introduce new projects without shifting more phases into the future. Now that 75 million came from the annual allocation we get every year, which is 17 million. And then we're adding to that 58 or $60 million from the previous carryover. So our balance is 75.7 million. Here's the difficulty though. That carryover funds, that's 3.5 years worth of annual allocation. 3.5 years of projects that have not been obligated. So that $58 million came from projects that are not advancing in a reasonable time frame, and quite frankly, funds are becoming available more quickly than they're being obligated. Is everyone with me, or am I making sense with this?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, good. So here's the question. We have $93 million worth of phases, costs associated with phases in the future year. We only have 300,000 available at the end of 18. So we really don't have any money available at this point to deal with that 93 million unless we take the 17 million we get annually and focus that solely on the $93 million. So here's the very odd question. How do we end up with almost $60 million in carryover funds and $93 million in the future phase? That doesn't quite make sense. So what we're trying to do is figure out why that's occurring and what we can do to deal with that. So let's look at the future phase. Right now we have $93 million worth of project costs in the future phase, which equals about 6 years worth of annual funding, which is $17 million a year for the SLO pod. The future phase amount goes up, which it generally has done. And the time to obligate the future phase does the same thing. So we'll go from 6 years to 7 to 8, and so forth. Right now the TIP covers 4 years, and the future phase covers 6 years. So it's going to take us 10 years to obligate all the funds that are currently in the TIP, using SLO. And that's if the current program remains static. That there are no cost increases, the existing project schedules are maintained, and no new projects are added to the TIP. 10 years worth of funding in a 4-year program. And this isn't just about the dollars and cents. This is about programming and obligation. Obligation is when a project is ready to move forward, the Federal Highway Administration gives the permission to go ahead and spend those funds for the project. When we program projects, we add them to the TIP. We make a commitment to the public that this project is going to go forward. We make a commitment to our other LPAs in the states because we're all working hand in hand to advance a lot of projects at the same time, so we're making a commitment to each other that we're gonna maintain our schedule and maintain our costs. It's part of the planning process, is to work together, and it's also on the accounting process, which all relies on what we do when we program. When we obligate funds, the LPAs, the states, and USDOT give us the thumbs up to go ahead and advance those projects. We do fulfill the various promises that we've made. We demonstrate future need, and we've enhanced the planning process. So it's a question of programming versus obligation. We do a great job of programming projects. The problem seems to be in the obligation of projects. Why is, if there was not an issue with the obligation, why would there be nearly $60 million of funds available that are carried over from previous years? So that's an issue. Another thing we looked at was how long projects have been in the tip, which is kind of interesting. So we looked at the projects that have been in the tip for 1 to 5 years, 6 to 10 years, and 11 to 15 years, and over 16 years or more. And here's what we discovered. The average length of time a project has been in a TIP is 7 years. There are 28 projects that have been in the tip from 1 to 5 years using SLO funds. 21 from 6 to 10 years. 5 projects have been in from 11 to 15 years. And another 5 projects have been in 16 years or more. We had to say or more because our database only goes back to 1999. So we couldn't go beyond 16 years. Now, NP, that's our new designation. You know, we had design, D for design, and ROW for right of way. NP, no phase is obligated within a recent time frame. There are 6 in the 1 to 5 year time frame and so forth that have not had a phase obligated recently, all the way down the road. 9, 6 to 10, to 11 to 15. And I love the one project that's been in the tip for over 16 years and hasn't had a phase obligated recently. So why is this important? The 4 typical phases, design, right of way, and so forth. The impacts are, if we aren't moving projects, there's a delay in benefits to the public, cost increases go up. We have some projects in the tip that have been designed 4 times. Part of the reason they've been designed 4 times is because they will be designed in 2000, then they'll be designed in 2007, and every time they go back, where there's a large gap of time between the different phases, they have to go back and redo the design because things change. There's a changing landscape because the project's still needed. And then there's that impact to the community and to the people who are anticipating the project being built in their neighborhood, who may or may not decide to move their business or their home, have been waiting for a long time, and the project's not advancing. So there are all kinds of impacts associated with the fact that projects may not be moving as quickly as we think they should. So, right now, we have in the 11 to 16 plus, there are $73 million worth of project phases that have not been obligated. In the no phase category, there's $70 million worth of projects that have not had a recent design obligated in the tip. Some of our staff thoughts are kind of interesting. Funds that are held by projects not advancing in a reasonable time frame basically equates to an opportunity lost. We refer to it at the office as funds being held hostage. In other words, if you're sitting on funds and you've been doing it for 16 years, you're saying that project's going to advance, so we keep shifting that project and moving the phases and all that kinds of things, but the project doesn't advance, the projects that we've set aside for that particular, the funds that we've set aside for that particular project are held hostage and can't be used by anybody else. Why do we think this is occurring? Multi-year phase shifts, frequent cost increases, lack of advanced planning, inability to provide a non-federal match. The commitment to the project that was introduced to the TIP in 2003 may not be there anymore, but we're not taking it out. there may be new local priorities with new mayors, new county judges, and so forth. So here is basically, the staff is trying to figure out what are the issues that we're dealing with, and this is a list of the issues. I don't want to really read them all to you, but we've broken them down into 3 categories: funding, timing, and other. Funding being the cost estimates that we received for the TIP are not accurate. Sometimes we have cost increases that are 100 to 200% more than the original estimate we received. The project cost balance in the future phase is becoming unmanageable. There's a lot of unobligated funds that aren't being spent, aren't being used, funds that are being held hostage or that opportunity lost. And there's too much of an expectation based on a very limited funding source. And there's the timing issue. Right now we're looking at 10 years. Projects not advancing as they originally said they would. We have one project from the TIP that's had a phase shift 27 times using SLO funds. So these are the other issues that we're dealing with. And then maybe there's a lack of forethought. Everybody's thinking about their own individual project rather than thinking about the projects that need to be dealt with relative to the region and to the MTP. There's a need for better coordination, and the last one on there has to do with future, with the MAP 21 and the FAST Act, and having to contribute to performance-based transportation planning. Okay, is everybody keeping up with me, or am I losing people left and right?
Keeping up.
Keeping up, there we
Very awakening.
All right, so what does this mean?
I'm watching faces, and I think everyone's listening so far. This is the easy part.
Okay, if you were to look at our Metropolitan Transportation Plan, the current one, Horizon 2035, we have a total of about $480 million worth of formula funds that are in the MTP for projects. 25% of those funds are dedicated funds that come directly to the MPO. The remaining 75% are state, federal, and other funds that are in there. And as you probably already know, the Transportation Policy Committee is responsible for those funds that are dedicated to the MPO. They manage the funds, they select the projects. They're responsible for ensuring those funds are obligated with assistance from the states and the Federal Highway Administration and Federal Transit Administration. The remaining funds are basically controlled by the states. They manage the funds, they select the projects, they are responsible for ensuring the funds are obligated, and so forth, with assistance from the TPC. So when we talk about the MPO, when we talk about funds that we have, that we look to for the MTP, we look at $480 million, which up 25% is dedicated. So let's do a quick MTP lesson. Basically, what we look at is the MTP is a slate of projects, big projects, small projects, roadway projects, bicycle, transit, all kinds of projects. It's a whole menagerie of different colors and sizes. And MTP is developed by the policy committee with assistance from the staff, TTCC and KIPTA. TPC, assuming that you bring to the table the needs and wants that you have from your community, you develop the goals and objectives, define performance measures and targets, and make a commitment to the community that we intend on going forward and implementing these projects that are in the MTP. So staff and others develop a project table, basically that meets those goals and objectives and the needs and wants that you identify. The way it generally works is projects flow from the Metropolitan Plan to the TIP. In the best case scenario, all the projects that are programmed are implemented in a reasonable fashion. But when we have significant cost increases, the ability to implement projects in the MTP is reduced. So we may program projects, but we won't be able to implement them all. And then when we have multi-year shifts, of where one phase goes from one year to the next, or a project has 27 phases that shift, the ability to implement the projects that are in the TIP that came from the MTP is diminished. So we have this table But under the current tip practice with frequent cost increases, multi-year pattern of shifting phases, projects not advancing, funds unobligated, funds held hostage, a lack of consideration of the big picture, that once very full and robust project table that's in the MTP is much less than what we had originally intended, than what you had originally intended at the TPC. The TPC defined goals and objectives for the MTP. This is how they want the plan to evolve. These are the issues we want to be addressed. We've identified performance measures and targets that will help us to determine whether or not we're doing a good job. We've made a commitment to the community, and there's an anticipated community benefit. But if we have the situation of the current tip practice, those goals and objectives and the things that you would hope to address are going to be very difficult to achieve. We won't be able to advance projects like we would like from the MTP to the tip. The big concern is this one, performance measures and targets. MAP 21 and the new FAST Act really put a lot of attention into performance-based transportation planning. We have to identify measurable, smart targets that we can think we can achieve with our MTP. If we're unable to advance projects from the MTP to the tip, we will not hit those targets. Okay, so where do we go from here? Staff has a couple of ideas to improve the process. And this is the list of the ideas, but let's improve the way we do cost estimation. Let's plan for cost increases. We know they're going to happen. Let's maybe identify conditions for making funds available for new projects. Let's go through an application process. Let's make things more organized, more streamlined. In terms of timing, we need to improve how we look at scheduling and schedule review, develop guidelines for shifting project phases, and improve project tracking, and greater committee involvement by the TPC and the TTCC to make sure that everyone's doing like they say they're going to do. We need to have a better understanding of how one project impacts the entire slate of projects. If one project has a cost increase, generally what happens is several projects have to shift their schedules. Let's make sure we support the MTP and improve coordination between all planning partners. Here's the bottom line. It's going to take us 10 years to fund the existing projects using the SLO pot. The MTP has a 20-year horizon. So that's half of the horizon of the MTP with the existing projects using SLO funds in the tip. 10 years. Should new projects be introduced? No, I don't think so. That's our staff opinion. It's sort of like this. I have a hole in my roof, so maybe I should fix the hole in my roof, or I should buy that new 72-inch screen TV that I really want to put in my basement. And, I really need to focus on taking care of what's right in front of me first and to make sure the hole in my roof is repaired before I do anything else. So no, I'm not going to buy the new TV. I'm going to focus on what's right in front of me with the projects that are in the current tip. Will new projects need to be introduced to the tip? Probably. There always are. Always new projects are coming forward. Always new needs are being identified. New priorities are being established. Is the ability of the TPC to address MTP goals and objectives impacted? Probably. You as the policy committee have identified what you think are the goals and objectives for our region relative to transportation. Your ability to meet those goals, objectives, and those targets is impacted by the inability to advance projects. And are commitments being fulfilled? That's up to you to decide. They're your commitments. And so it's a question of whether or not you think they're being fulfilled. This is all under the current tip scenario. So what do we think we should focus on going forward? We should look at how we select projects and not just accept projects, which has been way we've done things in the past. If you bring us a project, we're going to accept it. Well, maybe we should give a little bit more attention to how we choose the projects that are funded. Maybe we should also look at developing some guidance where there's cooperation and a shared expectation among all the project sponsors and LPAs. And of course, the obvious one, the elephant in the room, is we need to advance projects. We can't just keep going with the same practice we've been going with for years. Okay, so the question is, can these issues be resolved? Yes, they can be. Will these issues be resolved? That's a matter of you guys figuring out, or us helping you figure out what are the right steps to take to make that happen. So that's the question that's that will be before this group. I mentioned at the beginning, the working group has been formed by a TTCC working group that's going to help develop a project management plan and process that is going to focus on dedicated funds. They're going to assist staff with developing these guidelines and procedures that are going to help us advance projects and be more accountable. We're going to, and the funds we're going to focus on are going to CMAC, STP Urban, TAF, and HSIP funds. The issues are about the future balance, advancing projects, the transition from the plans to the TIP, and dealing with that unobligated balance of funds and making sure that we reduce that by implementing projects. We need to plan for cost increases and how phases shift. We need to make sure that we're addressing the correct priorities. And we have reasonable expectations that are shared amongst all the players so that we're all singing from the same hymnal. Right now, we're looking at involvement from the KIPA staff, sponsors, LPAs, TTCC, and TPC members. We want to begin in May, complete the process by July, and bring it to the committees in July, hopefully, with a draft project management plan that you as a committee will feel is a good approach for us to take and will adopt. And then we want to suggest lifting that SLO freeze that we currently are under relative to the SLO program, cost increases, and new projects being introduced. Any volunteers? Somebody get these?
So do you just need help spending this money? I'm not sure I understand. You have money left over?
We always have, yeah, we've had money left over for years.
And you having trouble spending it?
Having trouble spending it. For several different reasons.
Are there stipulations in there that you have to spend it by, there's no stipulations, but you have to do this by a certain time?
There are stipulations in Indiana, for instance. If we get money in a particular year, we have to spend it in that year. I think you've heard some of that in the last 6 or 8 months. Kentucky is not that rigid yet, but there are some limitations that they could bring to bear on where the money came from. For instance, money is associated with a particular transportation act. Once that act is completed, you have a certain number of years after that act to spend that money. Well, we have money left over from 2 acts ago. They could call us on that.
And keep in mind, Larry, that our current TIP is programmed almost out to the penny. So unless we advance the projects or remove some of the projects that are not going to advance from the current TIP, there is no more room for new projects or cost increases of the existing projects without shifting phases to that future category that's already at $93 million.
And every time we shift a phase, ultimately, you're going to increase the cost.
Yeah, there are some projects that had designed in 2004 for $300,000, and they came back 6 years later and needed to do the same design again for $600,000. So the costs do increase over time.
What's the authority to remove some of the projects that's been there for 15
No, we need to get
15
some of this
years?
other stuff done.
You do.
But there's gotta be some guidelines to start doing that.
Risk
Right. That's
Right,
what-
I know, and it gotta be,
That's
we
what-
talk about statements, we decide to take action, but we're not gonna be any better off.
I mean, as mayor, if you are who was responsible for the budget, mayor of Middletown, as long as the others mayors that are in here, what would you do in the face of this situation? You've got to make some tough calls.
Sure.
In order to balance that budget. And that's what we need to start doing now with this program, is make those tough calls. And then improve the way we do things in the future.
I'll certainly work with this.
David, the staff have a common thread of the largest reasons for each, like the phase shifts, you know, what brings that project to that point to where they're shifting out. 27 in one project that's never had
There's a wide variety of problems and issues that go along with that.
These are most common in that group that, you know, you all can share with.
Every project's unique.
But there is some.
And priorities change. That's the biggest thing, is priorities change. The LPA's priority changes.
And there are a couple of issues where we may have a balance of funds available, let's say in year one. And you have a $5 million project that you want to construct, but we only have enough money to introduce $1 million of your project. But you want to go ahead and get your project in the queue. You may not be ready for it to advance yet. You may not have the matching funds and the staff resources to advance it. But once you're in, you're feeling pretty good. So you've got that $1 million in there. I'll deal with you may deal with other $4 million later on. So it's a very competitive process without much guideline for us to be able to actually complete a project. And then you may bring in your design phase at $1 million because that's the amount of money we have available. But in reality, your design phase is $1.5 million, and you'll deal with it later. So the common thread then, Jack, is unrealistic estimates and unrealistic schedules.
And I think it's important to say too what you said about Indiana cracking down, for lack of a better way to put it. The state of Indiana is receiving the same pressure from the federal government and the people who supply these federal funds, the state of Kentucky is receiving the same level of pressure that the state of Indiana is. The state of Indiana chose to react that way, and the same thing could happen in Kentucky at any given moment. I mean, the state of Kentucky is no different.
Well, Brian,
it could happen at any time.
Brian, you can talk to Jim. You guys can talk to what's happening on the Indiana side of the river. Mm-hmm. You don't want that on the Kentucky side of the river.
Okay.
If we don't solve it, they will solve it for us, and we won't like it.
You program funds for a given year. If you don't obligate them, the funds go away.
So David, you're not asking for any action today other than for people to volunteer?
I'm looking for volunteers to work.
So,
there are TTCC members that have volunteered for the work as well. Yes. So some of the jurisdictions are already represented.
Okay. Several of us here have already volunteered through the.
Who do we have, John, from Metro?
I know I volunteered, and I think Dirk.
Dirk volunteered.
Good. Yeah.
And Aida has volunteered.
Well, I wanted to volunteer one more person from KYTC who's not here today, Travis Thompson, who's involved in a great number of these projects.
Mayor Jeff, you want to volunteer? Yes, please. Very bold.
Did you get?
I've got it.
Okay.
Mayor Deere, did you raise your hand?
Yeah. Yes.
I've already volunteered for that.
Okay.
Okay.
If anybody has any questions, we hope to start getting them.
And you're going to review that list of volunteers, and if there's an obvious hole, we'll reach out to fill it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I can say, and I think it's obvious to what David shared, good presentation, David, and staff that worked with you to put this together, but it's safe to say when you get through this, once all these corrections are made to where you get the efficiencies that we should have in place, you're going to gain projects because the efficiency will give you more projects in the long run.
That's a very good point. Right now, we're kind of static. We're stuck where we are. Once we start moving these things through and set this policy, we'll be able to introduce more projects to the program.
Okay.
Very good point. Thank you.
Thank you. I think there was some confusion today. The agenda went out with a 1:30 start time, and it's obvious by the number of people who walked through the door at 2 o'clock that not everybody got that. 12:30 and 1 o'clock. Thank you. See, hence the confusion. I can't even tell time. 12:30.
Y'all there since 12:30?
Yeah.
Some of it.
Jim and I said we didn't need beer till when?
We went to lunch.
Okay. We will put it in larger letters next time around.
Perhaps we'll put it in red next time.
Okay. Let's back up to where to those items where action is requested. The February 25th meeting minutes.
Make a motion to accept as distributed.
We got a
Second.
motion, second, conversation. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We've accepted the minutes. All right, the Horizon 2035.
All right, thank you very much. Yes, I wanted to talk to you today about amendments to the Metropolitan Transportation Plan and also the fiscal year 2015 to 2018 Transportation Improvement Program. I received quite a few project changes that came into us for both the plan and the TIP, and then that prompted the amendments we made to both of those documents. The changes were included in the packet that was sent out to you, with, also with some other documentation, and hopefully you had time to review that. The changes that were submitted are both air quality exempt projects and air quality non-exempt projects. And in an effort to expedite the process for some of the projects, we split those projects into two amendments. Amendment 5 contains only the air quality exempt projects, and Amendment 6 contains the air quality non-exempt projects. And those non-exempt projects have to go through the full conformity process. It takes considerably longer. So the Interagency Consultation Group had a conference call on February 23rd to discuss the projects and determine which category those projects go into. And there were actually some a meeting summary that was included in your packet of that. And then also a regional emissions analysis was conducted on the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, and it was shown to pass conformity, and therefore the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, including these changes, meets the air quality standards for our area. And the TIP is a subset of our transportation plan, and therefore it also meets conformity. So we'll go over some of the projects. We won't go over all of them in the interest of time. We will go over some of them. Okay. We'll start with some Amendment 5 projects. The first one we'll talk about is the Port of Indiana truck to rail and rail to water improvements. This is a Tiger grant that was submitted or awarded to our area, and it's improvements at the Port of Indiana in Jeffersonville. The project is being added to our Metropolitan Transportation Plan at a total cost of $17 million, and it's estimated completion in 2020. It's also being added to the Transportation Improvement Program, and it is we're adding, let's see, PE in 2016, we've got construction 2017 and 2018. And again, these are Tiger funds, they're federal funds. The second project up there is the Salem Noble Road project in Clark County. And this is a reconstruction of a 2-lane road from Indiana 62 to Indiana 403. There's no change to the plan. It's already in there and it's remaining the same in the Metropolitan Transportation Plan. But in the TIP, we're deleting the right-of-way funds for it. And these are the SCP urban funds. Next we have the Dixie Highway Tiger project. This is another Tiger grant that was awarded to our area. This project will address congestion, safety, and functionality of Dixie Highway corridor from Kentucky 841 to Broadway, and it will include ITS signal improvements, complete street improvements, and bus rapid transit. It's being added to the transportation plan at $28.9 million with an estimated open to public in 2018, and it's also being added to the transportation improvement program with design, right-of-way, utilities, and construction in 2016, and then some transit capital construction in 2017. These are Tiger funds. Then the next project is the Northeast Louisville Loop Section 2, and this is a Metro Parks project. This is to design and construct a shared use path system from the Eastwood Cutoff Road to Eastwood Recreation Center. This, again, it's already in the transportation plan and there's no change to that. In the TIP, we are adding fiscal year 2016 right-of-way funds and 2017 utility relocation funds, and these are SLO funds. So those are the main projects in Amendment 5. We'll talk about a few in Amendment 6. Starting with the Cooper Chapel Road Phase 3 project. This is to extend and construct a 2-lane road from Beulah Church Road to Bardstown Road at Bardstown Falls Road. And there's no change to the plan, it's already there and won't change. In the TIP, we are moving the right-of-way funds from 2016 to 2017 and moving utilities from 2017 to 2018, and then we're deleting the 2018 construction funds. And these are SLO funds. And then the next project is I-65. This is the ramp to Brook and Floyd Streets. And there's no change to the plan. In the TIP, we're moving the design to 2018, and we're deleting the 2018 utility funds, and these are SLO funds. And moving along, we have another I-65 project. This one's in Bullitt County. This is a new project that we're adding to the plan in the TIP. It's to improve the ingress and egress with I-65 for the Cedar Grove Industrial Park, constructing a new interchange and connector and reconstructing the I-65 southbound exit ramp to Kentucky 480. The map up here, I will just point out the map up here, the actual project is actually shown at the Kentucky 480 interchange. The new interchange would be south of that. So we're adding that to the plan, and we're also adding it to the TIP with design at $2 million, and these are state funds. And then we have a Kentucky 1931, which is to widen this road from 2 to 3 lanes from Dixie Highway to Doss High School. There's no change to the plan, it's already there, but we're just shifting design to 2016, and we're adding utility funds, and these are SLO funds.
Mary Lou, is 1931, is that Manslick Road? What is that?
Yeah, Manslick Road or St. Andrew's Church, I'm not sure, they kind of run together there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we have the Northwestern Parkway Road Diet, followed by the Louisville Loop Northwestern Parkway project. Now, what's happening here is the top project, the Northwestern Parkway Road Diet project, is currently in our transportation plan. It's not in the TIP, but it is in the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, and we are requesting to delete that project. This particular one is a road diet, and then it's also converting some of the one-way street sections to two-way. But we're wanting to replace that project with the one underneath, which is the Louisville Loop Northwestern Parkway project. And this is bicycle and pedestrian facilities and road diet. But there's no, to my understanding is there's no conversion of the streets from one-way to two-way in that. So we're deleting the top project and we're adding the second project, and neither one are in the TIP. So might be a little bit confusing. But. Okay, then we have an Olmsted Parkways project, which is the Southern Parkways segment. And this is, let's see, to construct a shared use path system along Southern Parkway between 3rd Street and New Cup Road, reducing the roadway from 4 lanes to 3 lanes. There's no change to this in the plan. And in the TIP, we are adding utility funds in 2017 and deleting the 2017 construction funds, and these are SLO funds. And then the last project up here is the River Road extension. And this is to extend River Road west from 7th Street to Northwestern Parkway. It's in the plan, and there's no change to that. In the TIP, we are moving the design from 2015 to 2017, and we're adding 2018 right-of-way funds, and these are SLO funds. So I won't go through the rest of the projects. There are quite a few on there. There are quite a few of the TARC Section 5310 projects are on there, but in the essence of time, we're not going through everything. Hopefully you had a chance to look at those. But the projects, everything on the list, did go through public review, and Ashley is going to talk about that.
As you'll see on the monitor, we have public review from March 25th until April 8th, and the plan, or the amendments did go to all the public libraries. On April 5th, we held a public open house meeting at the Southwest Regional Library, and we got one comment at the library from someone saying that she's a senior citizen who uses TART 3 for transportation, and she said that she's had some problems with them being tardy. We also use Community Remarks, the online engagement tool that we talked about at one of the other meetings, and we got 2 comments off of that. One was from someone saying that they would like to see bicycle and pedestrian access, our facilities added to the River Road Extension Project. And then the other was from someone who requested transit routes be considered for her friend who is disabled and lives too far away for TART 3 to provide service. With the community remarks, you're also able to vote thumbs up or thumbs down on projects. And we had 13 thumbs up votes for projects. The Greenway Connector Project and the Dixie Tiger Project each got 3 votes apiece. And there was 1 thumbs down vote for all of the projects listed. And that was for the Olmsted Parkway's bike and pedestrian improvements.
Okay, thank you, Ashley. So hopefully you have looked at all the projects and you understand what I've discussed here with you. I'll try to answer any questions that there might be, and action is requested on these, but Mr. Chairman, I will need 4 separate actions. This time I made a slide. I tried to remember them all in TTCC, but I need 4 separate actions. I need approval of Amendment 5 to the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, approval of Amendment 6 to the Metropolitan Transportation Plan, and then approval of Amendment 5 to the TIP and Amendment 6 to the TIP. So all separate actions on that.
Separate actions. Anyone want to move one of the actions?
Make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
We're talking about Amendment 5? Okay. Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Amendment 6?
Motion approved. Second.
Comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Amendment 5 to the TIP?
So moved.
Second.
Aren't y'all glad we showed up today?
Comments? All in favor?
I know. Well,
And then Amendment 6 to the 15-18 TIP.
Hey.
Second. Okay.
So
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. I left out a step there. I'm sure there weren't comments on the last one.
all right, thank you very much.
Transportation Alternatives Program. Nick?
All right, I'm here today to essentially request your approval. On 2 separate but related TAP items. Just as a quick refresher, the Transportation Alternatives Program is designed to fund a variety of pedestrian and bicycle access projects, including sidewalks, bike lanes, lighting, etc. This year, KIPTA had our own pot of funding for both Kentucky and Indiana projects. This is the first time we went through a call for projects process for these funds. And back in August, the committee approved a local selection process. In September, we announced that call for both Indiana and Kentucky. In October, we did receive 6 applications from Kentucky LPAs, but no applications from Indiana at the time, which is why on December 4th, we went back out and opened that up again for Indiana LPAs. And then most recently, back in December, you guys awarded TAP funds to 6 Kentucky projects. So what are the next steps? There's really 2. The first thing is we are requesting an increase for the budgets of 5 of the Kentucky TAP projects by 10% each. That is to account for KYTC staff oversight, and I'll speak on that in a little bit. And then the second is to request approval of the 2 Indiana projects that we did receive. So on the Kentucky side, following the TPC action back in December, we worked with the Office of Local Programs to advance these projects, and working through that, we realized that both the NPO selected projects also have to include this 10% oversight for KYTC staff. And the only exception to the 6 projects was the TART project, because they will be flexed over from a federal highways grant to a federal transit administration grant, and so there will be no, essentially no oversight from KYTC. There may be something outside of the norm there. But essentially the regional impact to increase the 5 other projects by 10% is $360,537 in TAP funds. And no LPAs will be asked to increase their local match share, as the KYTC will use toll credits in lieu of that increased match. Just for a little bit of transparency on where things are in terms of funding with the TAP funds, we started with a balance of about $4.4 million. Through the December action, 2.9 was approved or awarded, and through this separate action, there'll be another increase of $360,000, leaving us with about $1.1 million. And the plan currently is to have another call for projects later in this year. So that is the Kentucky situation there. As far as, yes?
I'm assuming that 10% oversight, that is something we know about now, and from this time on, we're going to build it into the future, or are we going to have this
we have done that already in a lot of the projects that we've dealt with to date. We got a little miscommunication from OLP this time on these, or we would have had it added already.
Right, that's what I'm getting at.
Yes.
So this is going to be a thing where it's going to
Yes.
be, anything that comes
Yes.
to us in the future is going to have include that.
Yes,
Okay.
unless we hear otherwise.
Okay.
That's the default from now on.
One more question,
Yeah, you got it.
similar but not the same, is that a couple slides back you were talking about toll credit match. Does that toll credit match only apply to that 10% oversight, or does that apply to the whole project?
Correct, it's just to the 10% oversight.
All right.
Yep. Good question.
No one, we're not aware of anyone else requesting toll credit match.
All right, so on the Indiana side of things, like I said, we did receive 2 projects. I'll just briefly talk about the 2 of them. One is with the city of New Albany. They requested $227,000 in federal funds. This is part of a larger project they had going on downtown to convert one-way streets to 2-ways. And the funds that they requested will be for essentially traffic calming techniques like bump outs and installation of bike lanes. The second project we received was from TARC. They're partnering with the city of Jeffersonville. The request was for just slightly less than $227,000, and they will be constructing sidewalks on portions of Eastern Boulevard and enhancing the bus stops at 8 different locations. And just for a little breakdown, it's a lot easier here to do the math. We have $4 left that we were not able to program, and essentially,
Oh, just take it.
right. Hard to eat, no.
Well, it's no,
Yeah, we'll take it. Okay.
it's no coincidence that they're both $227,000.
Yeah.
Right. There was
Goes
only
back to having
$227,000 estimated. That's the estimated apportionment for 2017 and 2018 per NDOT. So unless things change, we will hold off until we receive what's likely the 2019 allocation of funding. So with that, I'm again requesting 2 actions. One, to award $360,537 in TAP funds to the 5 projects that need KYTC oversight. And secondly, to award $453,996 in Indiana TAP funds to the 2 projects I just mentioned.
Can we combine those in one motion?
We sure can.
Okay.
Motion approved, 1 and 2.
Second.
Second. Conversation, questions, comments? All those in favor? Opposed?
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Larry, you're going to talk about the Unified Planning
Yes,
Work
sir.
Program?
For those of you who are not familiar with the UPWP, the Unified Planning Work Program, that is a document that we submit to the Transportation Cabinet and NDOT. It's then reviewed by Federal Highways. FDA takes a look at it. These are our funding agencies. This is the document that we use for our work program, through which we receive our funding for planning purposes. It is, I don't know if any of you actually looked at it. It's about a 60-page document. It includes our new memorandum of agreement with all of our planning partners. It details staff hours. It details money that we're spending for planning studies. There's a lot to it. But it has to be approved by the TPC prior to us receiving any of those funds. TTCC took action on that, recommended that TPC approve the document, and now it's up to you. We do need action. Does anybody have any questions about the document, first of all?
Doesn't look like it. Someone want to make a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Second. Sure you don't want to ask any questions? All those in favor?
On page 58.
It's pleasant reading.
Misplaced semicolon. I caught that when I was looking at it.
Just for the record, that's why we weren't here at 12:30, we were reading it.
Thanks.
We already read it yesterday, those who got here early.
Okay, now for another gut buster, the FY 2015, FY
Do we need to vote on that?
2018. Didn't we?
Do we need to vote on that?
Oh, all those in favor? Opposed? Okay. Now we can talk about the tip.
Yes, again. Thank you. This time I want to talk about administrative modifications to the Transportation Improvement Program. These are considered minor changes. You don't have to go through the full amendment process. There is a memo and a list that is around the table for you. The projects that are on here, I'm not going to go through all of them, but just in general, the projects that are shown here in Indiana are all NDOT projects, and they are maintenance projects. Most of them bridge projects or interstate or bridge projects. And the Kentucky projects that are listed here contain the Kentucky TAP projects that Nick just mentioned a few minutes ago. And it also contains quite a few TARP projects if you're looking at it. And what has happened here is TARP has just broken out some of the line items on their capital improvement program that are already in the TIP, and they're just showing them as separate line items in the TIP this time. So because they're already in the TIP, it's just a modification to show them, it's already in the TIP in the capital improvement program. So it's just a modification to show each one individually and like that. But that's just a breakdown of what's there. I'll answer any questions that you have, and no action is needed on this. And if you, no action is needed because they're just minor changes. If you think of any questions or concerns after, you can always contact me and I can answer those for you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No one had any comments, concerns, questions, conversation, misplaced semicolons? Okay. TPC meeting time and duration.
Yes.
Mr. Cheney.
Sometimes we start the meeting at 12:30. What we have discovered in the last 6 or 8 months is that we have a lot to talk about. We have a lot that we want to talk with you about that you really need to take action on, and you need education really before you can take action. If you notice that a lot of us talk pretty quickly as we go through our presentations, and sometimes it gets a little faster toward the end, that's because we have time constraints. We're looking at our agendas, looking at all the things that we have to try to squeeze in, and we really think we need more time. The board meeting is on the heels of this meeting. We have left board members standing in the hallway on several occasions waiting for us to be finished in here. The hour is pretty restrictive. One of our recommendations is that we move the meeting start time to 12:30. That not only gives us more time to try to get everything in, it also gives you a little bit of time in between the two meetings for those of you who attend both. And maybe we won't leave people standing in the hall for very long. But it is entirely up to you. If 1 to 2 is what you prefer, then that's where we'll stay, and we'll try to do a better job in squeezing everything in.
So are you saying 12:30 to 2?
12:30 until, yes.
1:45, whatever?
Yes, whenever. We have, seriously, we've looked at the last 6 months, 8 months, I guess, we've looked at the schedules, and we have removed items because we knew we couldn't get them in. So we're not only removing things that should be discussed at a particular time, we're also limiting the discussion, and we're really compressing what we bring to you, just like the list of projects. We can't go through every single project, although we'd like to. We'd like to have discussion about the projects. It helps to what David was talking about earlier and the way that we try to manage projects. It helps for everyone to be aware of everyone else's work and what we're talking about, what we're considering, and what we're changing. So I'll leave that to you. It's our recommendation is we start at 12:30.
We'll put on an extra pot of coffee and bring an extra box of cookies, how's that? Or other.
So moved.
Do you need it in the form of a motion? Do you need it in the form
Yes,
of a motion?
because the bylaws do.
I was gonna say the bylaws have to be.
Do I have a motion?
Or we don't have to amend the bylaws right away. We can do it on a trial basis, see what you think for 3 or 4 months, and then make it formal. after
So the
that.
motion is a trial basis for 3 or 4 months.
12:30.
Second?
Second.
Comments, questions?
I got one comment. If we see that we're not going to have enough to take up the hour and 15 minutes or hour and a half, we should start a little bit later. Schedule it for 12:30, but if we, like the presentations, if you don't have enough, move it back to an hour.
Back to 1 o'clock.
I'm a little bit concerned about that from people, but as evidenced by today's
Yes.
meeting.
Well,
Can I
it's
just
hard.
pay a fine and be done with that?
But if it's scheduled at 12:30, that would be,
It's difficult to make that change.
Right.
It's going to be on a permanent basis. But I promise you, we will fill at least an hour every time we meet.
At least for the next 3 or 4 months.
An
Trial
hour and
period.
15 minutes at least.
Yeah, I think it's better.
And give you 10 or 15 in between.
Yeah,
Yes.
rather than switching.
well, that also gives us a little transition time to clear the room and let folks run to the men's, ladies' rooms, come back and get set up for a 2 o'clock startup, so it'll help us.
And we should have about 10 minutes to do that because now we're recording. We have to change this up. We have to move all of that out. All of our material that we brought in for distribution, there's quite a bit to be done in between the two meetings.
So that wasn't necessarily in the form of an amendment, but as a suggestion withdrawn?
Just this is a trial basis,
Yeah.
so we'll see
Okay.
how it goes.
What's the trial period? You wanna set it up?
So the motion is for a trial period, we would have it start at 12:30.
4 months.
4 months. 4 months, 3 days, 2 hours.
It's on page 58.
Oh, that's that Cohen thing.
Other comments, questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? You got it.
You're opposed to. Excuse me, sir.
You're opposing?
No, I'm for it.
Oh, okay.
But I want the trial period to be 3 years.
It's
You're
too,
on trial.
we'll see you in 4 months, all right?
Yeah, like you're gonna be here in 3 years.
Yes, precisely. Other business? Okay. Should I mention my offer? Long-standing, some of you know more of the history of this than others, but I did, when I assumed this chair, I suggested to Larry that we would be delighted to host a meeting at Union Station. And that would be, of course, in downtown. And I extend that offer to both this group and to the board. And as a sweetener, I'll buy lunch.
Gee,
At
we
12:30.
like you.
Okay?
None of us can accept it as being public employees, but he will all.
It's a very small lunch.
Carrot sticks and water.
Can I mention something real quick? I just got an email this morning from Bernadette DuPont, who's our rep in Kentucky from FHWA. And the FTA has announced that Louisville was one of the 9 communities across the country awarded a new Smart Growth America Act. Don't know the details. The link doesn't specifically talk about
We can
what
tell
they-
you details we've known for several weeks.
Yeah, oh, have you? Well, I thought it was great, so I
It
just
is.
want to make everybody aware of that.
It
We
is.
seem to be getting a lot of federal special funding type things lately, and I think that's a really good thing. It says a lot about the level of innovation in this community, and that people are wanting to try new things and you know, making really legitimate and strong efforts. So I think it's a good thing.
Since no one will do this except for KIPTA and KIPTA staff, to toot our own horn a little bit, the Tiger grants and the Smart Growth Initiative, the one thing that the ones that we have received recently have in common is that KIPTA either endorsed or worked on them. And that's not KIPTA necessarily just KIPTA staff, it's KIPTA MPO have endorsed these, and we have received recognition as working together as a region, and that helps in getting these grants, receiving these grants. This one in particular, Nick actually saw it first about a month and a half ago, I guess, maybe even 2 months ago. And we called John and put the team together, and in no time we received the grant. And it's piggybacked on the Dixie Highway project.
I thought it might be, yeah. But, and again, I think it's also a good thing for Louisville and the Louisville metro area nationwide when our name keeps popping up associated with these kinds of projects. I think, it gives us, it puts us on the radar of a lot of people that I think we might not normally have been. So it's a good thing.
That's an
Thank
excellent
you.
point.
Mm-hmm.
So I saw smiling faces when I mentioned lunch, so we'll go ahead and move to schedule that sometime down the road. That doesn't need an amendment, right?
And we will make that announcement if you would like for us to keep the board meeting
Sure.
next, just to let them
Excellent.
know that the
Okay.
invitation's there. And board members, please stay. We're a little bit close on quorum today, so we need you to stay after this meeting. Thank you.
Any further other business? Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Nice to see all of you.
Good eye.